Well,
The biggest thing with any volume and intensity is just understanding the amount that is going to create a stimulus for positive adaptation, but not get us to a point where we're so far into a hole and we're doing so much volume that we're not at a rate that we can recover.
I'm specifically thinking about their ability to recover is going to obviously depend on their sleep, their rest, their food. We're talking to high school athletes that go to the gym on their own, kind of follow a program they've seen online or on TikTok or something. And they potentially might be a program that was created based off of a bodybuilder or a power lifter or somebody where volume may make sense for a certain lift, especially if that the coach that's writing the program is trying to specifically get better at the lift. If we've got a field sport or court sport athlete that's trying to get better at the sport, a lot of additional volume in the weight room is not necessarily going to be beneficial for that person. Like you were talking about, because of their ability to recover. What we're really trying to do is obviously just hit enough of a stimulus to where their body adapts positively, and then we do it again. And I think that's the importance of consistent training, is just being able to hit just enough, recover for a day or two, hit just enough again, to where the body is getting enough stimulus to create an adaptation, but also enough time to recover to where, like you were saying, if we dig too big of a hole, then there's no recovery, there's no coming back.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, essentially, let's say we want X adaptation to happen. Like, we want to get stronger. It boils down to, if we can get stronger by doing 3 sets of 6, then why do 4, 5, 6 sets of it when I can get the results I want with 3 sets? Because the more volume we add on, the longer our body takes to recover, on top of bad sleep, on top of poor nutrition, and then waking up and having homework and tests and relational problems,
whatever it
social
is.
whatever that's going to look like. It just adds over time, over time, over time, until now it's compounded too much. And now we're fatigued and we're getting injured and bad stuff.
And I think that goes because I know how I was thinking when I was a high school kid, that if some is good, more is better. And I think that's why our retest weeks are so important, is because we can show, hey, guys, you've been in season the last 8 weeks. We have trained twice a week. We've only done 2 or 3 sets sometimes. Sometimes we've just cut them completely because we wanted to help you recover. And you're still able to see either a maintenance in the numbers that we're tracking or progress. And I guess my point to that was, if we're doing 2 or 3 sets of something and we're seeing progress along the way, it might not be back-to-back retest weeks for whatever reason. If we're seeing a progression from 2 or 3 sets, that's kind of the prove it answer of like, hey, we're going to improve as long as we're recovering properly and we're not killing ourselves on the field, the court, in another weight room, right outside of here. It kind of comes back to the stress level management, and from a high school athlete being able to control what they can control. But as far as like from a college standpoint, you were in a college weight room in several different areas. From what you've seen with a lot of the high school athletes and what they're getting, how they're recovering, how they're responding to stuff, what's kind of been the differences in their ability to tolerate more or less volume for those athletes specifically?
Working with the high schoolers that we have is them understanding all that they're doing in here, plus what they're doing outside of here, plus whatever skill work they're trying to do in order to get where they want to be. In the college setting, obviously it was a lot easier because I was at every practice. I was in daily communication with the coaches. I was able to limit, add, or adjust based on what I could see with my own eyes and not just conversations that I was having with the athletes.
Did you ever run into an issue where you had probably a male athlete that kind of liked the gym and would go to any commercial gym?
I ran into that a little bit, and honestly, the conversation I had with them is like, just why? Why do you think that what we're doing is not enough in here? Like, I'm exactly what you're talking about. Like, when we retest, like, you jumped higher, you ran faster, you were stronger in all your lifts that we tested. Why do you think that you need more? Just because we didn't do the 2 or 3 favorite exercises that you have in your mind? But then having that conversation, being super candid with them, was solved a lot of those issues.
Why do y'all feel like we have that conversation so much more with the high school athletes than like a collegiate athlete or a professional athlete? Because obviously they're the ones that the high school athletes are trying to be that college or professional athlete, the ones that we're training and talking about here. And if our college and pro athletes understand, hey, more is not always better, why do you guys think that the athletes that are wanting to be at that level we have to continuously have that conversation with.
Probably more so like a social media thing to where, which don't get me wrong, like take a non-athlete out of the equation. Like I love it that high schoolers are going to the gym and just working out. If they're on their phone for 45 minutes, but they're working out, which is awesome. But they might see something on TikTok or whatever, like a professional athlete or whoever's just talking. It's like, do this to throw 95 miles an hour. And it's some exercise. And they're like, okay, well, I have to do this. And if we're not doing it in here, they're like, well, I'll just go and do that and add it.
Yeah.
And I think it comes to the concept of, like you guys are saying, it's like, I think they think more is going to always be better. So I'm going to go and hit my arm day because I want big buys and tries, or I'm going to go and do, back squats because I want strong legs, because I'm only working out twice a week or 3 times a week at base. So now I have another 5 or, 4 days. I'm just going to go do my own thing, which in reality, it goes back to what we were saying. More isn't always better. And we can be undoing some of the progress I feel like that we're making it here by doing certain other exercises, like repping out bench press and not going full range of motion. Now our pecs are getting tight, which is the exact opposite of what we want.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it stems back to when you do hear a success story of somebody who worked super hard, and kind of the mindset of, if you're not working, your opponent is.
Yeah.
But sometimes not working is the best thing you can do. Because if you're just, like I said, grinding and digging yourself in a hole, then it doesn't matter what your opponent or somebody else is fighting for that spot is, because if you dig yourself so far that you end up getting injured, like, they're going to take your spot regardless, because now you can't do the thing that you're trying to do.
Yeah, one of the strength coaches that I had when I was playing actually gave an analogy about this, of like why we don't do so much volume, especially like from a performance standpoint, because obviously we've said it till we're blue in the face. Performance training and bodybuilding, powerlifting are all completely different things. Powerlifting is the sport. You're training the sport. And here, this isn't the sport. This is preparing you to play the sport. But one of the coaches I had said, to understand how much volume of something to do for performance reasons, you want to do the minimum effective dose. The analogy is, if you have a headache and I put a bottle of Tylenol in front of you, are you going to take the whole bottle of Tylenol, or are you going to take just 1 or 2 tablets enough to cure the headache? That's the exact same way with the weight room and training. Is like, we want to do just enough to be able to move the ball forward on progress and not overdo it to where we might be going in the wrong direction in that analogy. That was really good for me at the time, especially as a college athlete, to be able to understand that, of like, why should I not do more throws? Why should I not do more sprints? Why should I not go to the weight room another time or 2 on my own? And it's because obviously, ultimately, our body needs time to recover to prepare for the next training session so that we can move the ball forward. And in that scenario, if we do too much, it could be a massive detriment to progress.
Yeah, that was huge in my talk with recruits. I was like, dude, you are coming here to play college baseball.
Yeah.
My job is to make you a better baseball player. My job is not to make you the world's
100%.
strongest athlete that's ever lived. So if I'm not helping you progress on the field, because that's what matters. The weight room is only additional to what you came here for. You didn't get a scholarship to spend 5 hours a week with me in the weight room. You got a scholarship to come here to either throw a ball as hard as you possibly can or hit one as far as you possibly can. And so those are the goals that we've got to work towards. Not, I want you to hit a 300-pound deadlift, a 500-pound back squat, and a 315-pound bench. Like that, if that happens, cool. If it doesn't matter. Can you hit the ball over the fence? Can you get to home to first? Can you strike out 1 billion people?
Yeah.
Those are the goals.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It all comes back to on the field, on the court performance, not in the weight room performance.
Right.
Again, as we've mentioned many times, is the weight room is to aid in the performance in the games at practice. It's not its own separate sport like powerlifting is. So the junk volume is something that I see a lot when I'm looking at programming. For one reason or another, programs that a lot of the high school athletes will maybe show us or bring to us or ask us about, it's just a lot of excess volume that doesn't necessarily correlate to what their goals are. And honestly, from the conversations I've had, I think we have to do, as strength and conditioning coaches, we have to do a good job of reminding them of what we're talking about. That, remember, the goal is to be better at baseball. The goal is not to be better in the weight room. Hopefully, if you have a good strength and conditioning program and you're doing things properly, they should correlate to an extent.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the whole goal is to improve at baseball or your sport in general. So think that's a big one for athletes specifically that are trying to train on their own or wanting to add more sets or wanting to do the next thing or not wanting to be left behind, and they want to add more things because they, want to prove to themselves that they're doing the work. At some point, doing additional work is not only not a benefit, but it's actually going to keep you further away from where you're trying to go.
And I think that also goes down to having strength coaches that are going to help program the volume according to what phase that you're in, given your season time. So like in the off season, let's say school baseball right now is like the number one thing on the list. So then off season is probably going to look like leading up to school. During that time, we can push the needle. We can add a set, add a couple reps to really push the adaptation. Obviously not overdoing it, because then it does still come to a point to where like, okay, why are we doing 8 sets of whatever? But we can push the volume and the intensity a little bit more or adjust it in different ways, as opposed to, we're in season. You just played last night and you play in 2 days. We're in here. We're not doing 5 sets. We're not doing 10 sprints. So I think it goes back to having people being able to be your professional stress managers on what that looks like.
Yeah, and I think a really easy way to understand or comprehend this is to understand that as you're playing more, you're practicing more, as that increases, the weight room volume has to decrease. But vice versa, as the playing and practice skill decreases, the weight room volume can increase because we have more capacity, we have more recovery time, we have more focus on development, whether that be speed, power, strength, mobility, whatever the focus is. We have more time and effort from a capacity standpoint to be able to recover. So that one is an easy way for, athletes, parents, coaches to understand it as the skill sport increases, weight room volume needs to decrease, not stop, but decrease, and vice versa.